The distress signal came through at 300 hours, cutting through the quiet night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. Lieutenant Rebecca Park almost spilled her coffee when the alert screamed across her console. "Sir, we have an emergency transmission," she called to her supervisor. "It's the Valkorians. They say they're dying out there." The message was simple and desperate. A research ship called the Infinite Curiosity was stranded in the Vale Nebula. Life support was failing. 47 crew members were trapped. They had maybe 3 weeks before the air ran out completely. The signal had come directly to Earth's emergency channels, bypassing the normal Galactic Council routes. That was unusual, but Lieutenant Park didn't think much about it. People were dying. That was all that mattered. Within an hour, the message reached Earth Command. Within 2 hours, it was on every major screen across the planet. Within 3 hours, the Galactic Council knew that Earth had received the call. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, far from Earth, the debate began. Ambassador Trelvan of the Asari Communion raised his primary appendage. "We must form a committee to assess the situation," he said in the slow, measured way his people always spoke. "Agreed," said Council Member Shosa of the Bright Collective. "The Vale Nebula is dangerous. Radiation storms, gravitational anomalies. We must calculate the risks before we send anyone." The Valkorian representative, a minor diplomat named Kethral, pressed his case. "My people are dying. Every moment we debate, they come closer to death. And rushing in without proper planning ensures more deaths," Trelvan replied. "The Council has protocols. We follow them for good reasons." The debate continued. Risk assessments were ordered. Multiple committees were formed. Each species had concerns. Each concern needed to be addressed. The Galactic Council had existed for 10,000 years. They had learned patience. Earth had existed as a spacefaring civilization for barely 100 years. They had learned something else. Captain Sarah Chen was asleep in her quarters aboard the UESS Prometheus when her communicator buzzed. She answered immediately. Years of military training pushing away the fog of sleep. "Captain, this is Earth Command. We need you to prep the Prometheus for immediate departure." Sarah sat up, already reaching for her uniform. "What's the situation?" "Rescue mission. Valkorian ship stranded in the Vale Nebula. We're sending you the coordinates now." "The Vale? That's 3 weeks out at maximum speed. Does the Council? The Council is debating." "We're not. You leave in 8 hours, Captain." "Get your crew ready." Sarah didn't argue. She never did when lives were on the line. "Understood. Chen out." She hit the ship-wide intercom. "All crew, this is the captain. We have an emergency deployment. Report to your stations immediately. This is not a drill. The Prometheus came alive like a sleeping giant waking up. Crew members scrambled from their bunks. Engineers ran system checks. Medical teams began preparing for Valkorian physiology. Marines loaded equipment with practiced efficiency. In her office at Earth's embassy to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Marcus Webb stared at his screen in disbelief. "They're deploying already?" he muttered. He opened a channel to Earth Command. When the general's face appeared, Marcus didn't hide his concern. "Sir, we haven't finished negotiations with the Council." "If we act unilaterally..." "People are dying, Marcus. I understand that, but the political complications will be handled politically. That's your job. Our job is to save those people. The Prometheus launches in 8 hours, sir, please. Give the Council time to..." The general leaned forward. "Marcus, in the time it takes the Council to approve a rescue committee, those 47 people will be dead. We both know it. Earth doesn't work that way. We can't work that way." The transmission ended. Marcus sat alone in his office, knowing that tomorrow would be a very difficult day in the Council chambers. 8 hours later, the UESS Prometheus broke orbit. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen watched Earth shrink behind them as they accelerated beyond normal safety limits. "Engineering. How's she handling?" Sarah asked. "Pushing it, Captain," Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez replied over the comm. "But she'll hold. We've got redundancies on our redundancies. Medical status?" Dr. James Park's voice came through. "We've been studying Valkorian biology during the flight prep. Downloaded everything the Council has in their public database. We're ready to treat them." "Good. Helm, maintain course. Push the engines as hard as you can without breaking my ship." "Yes, ma'am." Sarah leaned back in her chair. 3 weeks at maximum speed. 3 weeks while people died slowly in the dark. She intended to cut that time down as much as possible. In the mess hall, Marines checked their equipment. Sergeant Mike Torres watched his squad work with approval. They weren't expecting trouble. This was a rescue mission, but Marines always prepared. "Why are we suiting up for a rescue?" Private Chen asked. Torres shrugged. "Because the captain ordered us to be ready. When the captain gives an order, we follow it. Besides, you never know what you'll find out there." Several thousand light-years away, in the hidden command center of the Velkorian flagship Eternal Dominance, High Admiral Kelthar watched his screens with satisfaction. "The human ship has departed Earth," his intelligence officer reported. "Excellent. How long until they arrive?" "Their current speed suggests 17 days, Admiral. They're pushing their vessel beyond recommended limits." Kelthar's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Of course they are. Humans are so predictable, so recklessly heroic, so eager to prove themselves." His second-in-command, Commander Velna, shifted uncomfortably. "Are we certain about this plan, Admiral?" "If the humans discover—" "They won't discover anything until it's too late," Kelthar interrupted. "They'll come charging in like the young fools they are, desperate to save lives. And when they do, we'll show the entire galaxy what happens when you let children play with adults." The Infinite Curiosity was not in distress. Its crew was safe, well-fed, and very much alive. The ship's weapons were hidden but functional. Its engines could activate at any moment. The entire scenario was a carefully constructed trap. The plan was simple. Let the humans come. Let them think they're heroes. Then when their boarding parties entered, take them hostage. Broadcast it across the galaxy. Show everyone that Earth was too impulsive, too emotional, too dangerous to be trusted with real responsibility in the Council. "The recordings are ready?" Kelthar asked. "Yes, Admiral. Every moment will be captured and transmitted to the Council chambers. They'll see everything." "Good. Make sure the crews on the Infinite Curiosity remember their roles. They must appear desperate, helpless. The humans must believe they're succeeding right up until the moment we spring the trap." Kelthar settled back in his command chair. This would be his legacy. The Admiral who proved that humanity wasn't ready for the stars. The one who showed that their much-discussed compassion was really just poorly disguised aggression. He didn't know that 17 days away, Captain Sarah Chen was reading the same distress signal for the 15th time, her eyes catching every small detail, every tiny inconsistency. He didn't know that Chief Engineer Rodriguez had already flagged the power signature anomalies in the Velkorian ship's readings. He didn't know that. The humans were coming exactly as he expected them, to rushing in, prepared to help, ready to save lives. But he also didn't know they were coming ready for betrayal. The Prometheus raced through the darkness between stars, its engines burning bright, its crew preparing for rescue. In the cargo bay, medical supplies sat next to marine combat gear. In the bridge, rescue protocols were loaded alongside tactical assessments. Captain Chen stood at the viewport, watching the stars streak past. Commander James Wu joined her. "Do you think they're really dying out there?" he asked quietly. Sarah was silent for a long moment. "I don't know, James, but we have to act like they are. Because if we're wrong, if we let cynicism stop us and even one person dies because we didn't come," she trailed off. "But we're coming prepared." "Always," Sarah confirmed. "We hope for the best. We prepare for the worst. That's the only way to survive." The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth far behind, racing toward either a rescue or a trap. 17 days away, the Velkorians waited, confident in their plan. Neither side knew exactly what would happen when they finally met. But both sides were about to learn something important about the other. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. The Veil Nebula looked like a bruise in space, purple and black with flashes of radiation that could fry unshielded electronics in seconds. Captain Sarah Chen watched it grow larger on the view screen as the Prometheus reduced speed. 17 days, Chief Engineer Rodriguez said from her station. "We actually made it in 17 days. The Council estimated 32 days minimum." "We had motivation," Sarah replied. "Helm, take us in. Navigate around the radiation pockets. I don't want to arrive just to have our systems fried." The ship moved through the nebula like a needle threading through cloth. Every officer on the bridge was tense, focused. This was the dangerous part. Before they even reached the stranded ship, the nebula itself could kill them. On the Velkorian flagship, hidden deep in the nebula's safe zones, High Admiral Kelthar watched the human ships approach. His mandibles clicked nervously. They're moving too fast. They're taking risks no sane captain would take. Should we be concerned, Admiral? Commander Velnus asked. No, it confirms what we already knew. Humans are reckless. They value speed over safety. This will all be in our report. But Kelthar's claws tapped against his chair. Something felt wrong. The Prometheus emerged from a radiation storm, shields glowing from the absorbed energy. On the bridge, alarms were blaring. Shield strength at 60%, Rodriguez called out, but holding. We're through the worst of it. There, Lieutenant Park said from sensors. I have the Infinite Curiosity on scan. Distance 200,000 kilometers, Sarah leaned forward. Open a channel. Channel open, Captain. Velkorian vessel Infinite Curiosity. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Starship Prometheus. We received your distress call. We're here to help. The response came after a moment, weak, tired sounding. Prometheus, this is Captain Velkath of the Infinite Curiosity. Thank the ancestors. We didn't think anyone would come in time. Our life support is at 12%. The crew, many are already unconscious from the poor air quality. Sarah's face showed appropriate concern. Hold on, Captain. We're coming to you now. Prepare for emergency docking procedures. She closed the channel and immediately turned to her crew. Her voice dropped, became harder. Rodriguez, I need a detailed scan of that ship, everything. Power, life support, weapons, crew locations. I need it now. Rodriguez's fingers flew over her console. Data streamed across her screen. Her eyes widened. She opened a private channel to Sarah's command chair. Audio only. No visual that could be caught by external sensors. Captain, you need to see this. The power readings don't match what they're telling us. Sarah pulled up the data on her personal screen. Her jaw tightened. The Infinite Curiosity's power systems were running at nearly full capacity. Life support wasn't failing, it was operating normally. And there were weapons online. Not active, but ready. She closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, they were cold and hard. Rodriguez, keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship. Lieutenant Park, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've arrived and are proceeding with the rescue. Include all sensor data. Yes, ma'am. Sarah opened another private channel, this time to the Marine Commander. Sergeant Torres, change of plans. Full combat load but concealed. Tell your people this is now a hostile environment rescue. We treat them like victims, but we're ready for anything. Understood, Captain. We're already in position. Sarah allowed herself a small, grim smile. She'd ordered the Marines to prepare before they even left Earth. Just in case, she opened another channel to medical. Dr. Park, are your teams ready? Yes, Captain. We have treatment stations set up for Velkorian physiology. Trauma kits, atmospheric support, the works. Good, but Doctor, keep your people in pairs. No one goes anywhere alone. If anyone on that ship gives you trouble, you get out immediately. There was a pause. Captain, is there something I should know? Just being cautious, Doctor. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The Prometheus moved closer to the Infinite Curiosity. From the outside, everything looked normal. A rescue ship approaching a vessel in distress. But inside both ships, people were preparing for something else entirely. On the Velkorian ship, crew members moved to their assigned positions. They wore makeup to look sick and tired. They practiced their weak voices and desperate expressions. Engineers stood ready near hidden weapon controls. Captain Velkath, who was actually in perfect health, rehearsed his lines one more time. Remember, everyone, look grateful, look relieved, let them board, let them spread out through the ship. Then, on my signal, we activate the electromagnetic locks and take them prisoner. On the Prometheus, Marines checked their concealed weapons one final time. Medics prepared their equipment, but they also memorized the ship's layout from the scans. Engineers got ready to help with repairs, while mentally noting every tactical advantage and weakness they could see. Commander James Wu stood next to Sarah on the bridge. They know we're coming to help, he said quietly. They don't know that we know it's a trap. No, Sarah agreed. They don't, and we're going to keep it that way. We're going to walk onto that ship, smiling and helpful and completely professional, and we're going to be ready for the moment they make their move. And if they don't make a move, if we're wrong? Sarah looked at him. Then we save 47 lives and look paranoid. I can live with that. The two ships came together slowly, carefully. Docking clamps extended. The connection was made with a solid thunk that echoed through both vessels. Sarah opened the channel again. Infinite curiosity, we have docking. Preparing to send over emergency teams. Understood, Prometheus. We're ready. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Sarah stood up. She straightened her uniform. Commander Wu, you have the bridge. If things go wrong, you get this ship and crew out of here. That's an order. Captain, that's an order, James. She walked to the airlock where her teams were assembled. Medics with their equipment, engineers with their tools, Marines in light armor, weapons hidden but accessible. They all looked at her with steady professional eyes. All right, people, Sarah said. We're here to rescue these people. That's our mission, and that's what we're going to do. But we're also going to be smart about it. Stay in your teams. Watch your surroundings. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Questions? What if they really are dying, ma'am? A young medic asked. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Then we save them. That's why we're here, but we do it carefully. She turned to the airlock controls. Before she opened them, she activated her communicator one more time, on an open channel that both ships could hear. This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. We're here in response to your distress call. Our medical teams are ready. Our security teams are ready. Our engineering teams are ready. She paused, and her next words were carefully chosen. We've come to help, Admiral Kelthar. Whatever help you need. On the Velkorian flagship hidden in the nebula, High Admiral Kelthar froze. His mandibles stopped clicking. His claws gripped his chair. Did she just... Commander Velna started. She used my name. Kelthar whispered. She used my rank. But I'm not on the Infinite Curiosity. How does she... She knows, Velna said. Admiral, she knows it's a trap. On the Infinite Curiosity, Captain Velkath heard the message and felt his stomach drop. The human captain had just announced to everyone listening that she knew the real person behind this operation. There was no way she should know that. No way she could know that, unless they'd known from the beginning. Sarah Chen stepped through the airlock, her face calm and professional. Behind her, her teams followed. They looked like rescuers. They smiled like rescuers. They moved like rescuers, but every single one of them had their eyes open, scanning, watching, ready. The Velkorian crew members waited in their positions, suddenly uncertain. The confident trap they'd prepared now felt like something else. Like maybe they were the ones who'd been caught. In the silence that followed as the two groups faced each other across the docking port, everyone had the same thought. What happens now? Sarah Chen smiled. It was a professional smile, a captain's smile, but her eyes were cold and knowing. Hello, she said warmly. We're here to help. Now who wants to tell me what's really going on here? Nobody answered. Nobody knew quite what to say. The trap had been sprung, but somehow, impossibly, it felt like the humans had been ready for it. High Admiral Kelthar, watching from his hidden flagship, realized he'd made a terrible mistake. He'd assumed humans were reckless because they moved quickly. He'd assumed they were naive because they answered distress calls. He'd never considered that they might be both quick and careful. Both hopeful and suspicious. Both kind and dangerous. He was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The silence stretched for 3 long seconds. Captain Velkath of the Infinite Curiosity stood in the docking bay, his makeup making him look sick and tired. Around him, his crew held their positions. They'd practiced looking desperate and weak. Now they just looked confused. Captain Sarah Chen waited, still smiling that professional smile. Behind her, her teams remained calm and ready. Finally, Velkath made a decision. He touched his communicator, opening a channel to the hidden flagship. Admiral Kelthar, I believe. I believe we need new orders, sir. Sarah's smile widened slightly. Good choice, Captain. We can all wait while the Admiral figures out what he wants to do next. Velkath stared at her. How did you know? Sarah finished. We've known since before we left Earth, Captain. Your distress signal was almost perfect. Almost. But it hit our emergency frequencies a little too precisely. The timing was a little too convenient. And when we scanned your ship, she shrugged. Your life support is working fine. Your crew is healthy, and you have weapons ready to fire. In the hidden flagship's command center, High Admiral Kelthar felt his carefully laid plans crumbling. He had 3 choices, and all of them were bad. First, he could proceed with the trap. Order his people to take the humans hostage. But the humans were clearly prepared. They might fight back. People might die. His people. and the whole galaxy would see a planned ambush turn into a disaster. Second, he could call it off completely and withdraw. But that meant admitting defeat, admitting his plan had failed. His career would be over. Third, there might be a third option, something to salvage this mess. He opened a channel, one that would broadcast to the infinite curiosity, the Prometheus, and be recorded for the Galactic Council. Captain Chen, this is High Admiral Kelthar of the Velkorian hierarchy. I admit we were testing you. This was a council-approved evaluation of Earth's readiness for greater responsibility in galactic affairs. It was a lie. The council had never approved this. But if he could make it sound official, maybe he could save face. Sarah's expression didn't change. A test, I see. Tell me, Admiral, are any of your crew members actually in danger right now? No, they're all safe and healthy. So you lied about 47 people dying. You sent out a fake distress signal. You made us travel 17 days at dangerous speeds through a radiation nebula. Her voice remained calm, but something sharp edged into it. You wasted our time, our resources, and you put my crew at risk. All for a test? Kelthar felt defensive anger rising. You humans are always so quick to act, so eager to play hero. We needed to see if you would be reckless, if you would— We came prepared, Admiral, Sarah interrupted. We knew it was probably a trap. We came anyway. Do you understand why?
Because you're fools?
Because what if we were wrong? Sarah's voice was quiet but intense. What if even one person on this ship had actually been dying? We couldn't take that chance. We're willing to look like fools if it means no one dies because we were too cynical to help. On his flagship, Kelthar opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. He hadn't considered that perspective, Sarah continued. But we're not fools, Admiral. We came ready. While you were planning your trap, we've spent 2 days scanning your ship. We know where every weapon system is. We know your crew positions. We know your security protocols. We've mapped your vulnerabilities. She paused. If this had been a real trap, we would have won. Sergeant Torres and his Marines had moved into positions throughout the docking bay without anyone noticing. They still looked casual and friendly, but Velkath suddenly realized they'd positioned themselves to control every exit. Every weapon port, every strategic point. The human medics were unpacking their equipment, chatting pleasantly with nervous Velkorian crew members, but Dr. Park was standing exactly where he could see into the main corridor. His medical bag was positioned where he could reach it quickly, or use it as cover. The engineers were examining systems, asking questions, being helpful, but Chief Rodriguez had already identified the ship's main power controls and positioned herself within 10 steps of them. What do you want? Kelthar finally asked, his voice heavy with defeat. Sarah's expression shifted. The coldness left her eyes, replaced by something thoughtful. We're already here. We came prepared to render aid. Our medical teams have been studying Velkorian physiology for 17 days. We loaded emergency supplies suitable for your species. We have engineering teams ready to repair systems. She looked around at the Velkorian crew, many of whom were now watching with obvious interest. You wanted to test us? Fine, test us properly. Let us run this rescue operation exactly as planned, as a training exercise. Your crews can evaluate Earth's capabilities honestly. In exchange, Earth wants your detailed report on our performance shared with the Council. Velkath glanced at a concealed camera, then back to Sarah. You want us to continue the simulation? Why not? You've set everything up. You have recording equipment running. Sarah's smile turned slightly mischievous. You wanted to see how humans handle emergencies? Show the galaxy what we can actually do when we're not busy disarming traps. Give them something real to judge us on. On the flagship, Commander Velnas leaned close to Kelthar. Admiral, this could work in our favor. If we accept and they fail, we still achieve our goal. If they succeed, we at least get valuable intelligence. Kelthar made his decision. Very well, Captain Chen, we accept your proposal. My crew will simulate various emergency scenarios. Your teams will respond. We will evaluate and report honestly to the Council. One condition, Sarah added. Your armed guards can stay positioned throughout the ship. You can keep your weapons ready, but we both agree, everyone treats this professionally. No actual threats, no actual violence. Agreed. Sarah turned to her crews. All right, people. We have injured Velkorians to treat, systems to repair, and a rescue operation to run. Let's show them what Earth can do. What followed over the next 2 days surprised everyone, especially the Velkorians. Dr. Park's medical team worked efficiently through the Infinite Curiosity's crew quarters. They treated simulated injuries with real skill, explaining their procedures in simple terms. When a young Velcorian engineer nervously asked about human medicine, a human medic spent 15 minutes answering questions, sharing information freely. "Your cardiovascular system is fascinating," the medic said. "Similar to ours in function, but the redundancy you've evolved is remarkable. If we ever have to treat real Velcorian injuries, we're ready now." The Velcorian engineer found himself genuinely grateful for the lesson. Chief Rodriguez's engineering teams identified real problems the Velcorians hadn't even noticed. "Your power coupling here is degrading," she pointed out. "Not dangerous yet, but in another month? Could have been bad. Want me to show your people how to fix it?" Captain Velkath watched as human engineers worked alongside his crew, sharing techniques and comparing notes. They weren't condescending. They weren't showing off. They were just helping. The Marines maintained security perimeters, but Sergeant Torres made a point of introducing himself to each Velcorian guard he encountered. "You've got good positions here," he'd say. "Smart defensive setup. Mind if we grab some rations? Happy to share ours if you want to try human food." By the end of the first day, Velcorian and human crew members were eating meals together, exchanging stories, comparing their different military experiences. But the Velcorians also noticed other things that made them uncomfortable. The humans were always watching. A medic would be having a friendly conversation, while his eyes tracked the location of every weapon in the room. An engineer would laugh at a joke while her hands automatically checked structural weak points. The Marines were casual and polite, but they never turned their backs on blind corners. Every human moved with purpose. They were never lost, never confused about where they were. After just one day, they knew the Infinite Curiosity better than some of its own crew. Captain Velkath mentioned this to Velnus during a private communication. "They're mapping everything, learning everything. They smile and help and chat, but they're running a complete intelligence operation at the same time. Should we stop them? How? They're not doing anything hostile. They're just paying attention, very close attention." On the second day, High Admiral Kelthar sent a message requesting a private meeting with Captain Chen, just the two of them and their first officers. Diplomatic protocol Sarah accepted. She brought Commander Wu and a bottle of whiskey from Earth. They met in Velkath's conference room. The four of them sat around the table, 2 humans, 2 Velcorians. Sarah poured 4 glasses. "In my culture, we drink to successful operations. Even training exercises," Kelthar took his glass carefully. "Velcorians could process human alcohol, though it affected them differently." He took a small sip. "When did you know?" he asked. "About the trap?" Sarah didn't hesitate. "Before we left Earth, your signal was too perfect. And you came anyway. It wasn't a question." "Yes. Why?" The question burst from Kelthar. He'd been holding it in for 2 days. "You knew it was a trap. You knew you were being set up. Why come at all? Are humans truly that foolish?" Sarah's expression hardened. "Not foolish, Admiral, principled. What if we were wrong? What if even one person on your ship had actually been in danger? We couldn't take that chance." Commander Wu picked up where Captain Chen left off. His voice was quiet, almost gentle, but his words hit like hammers. "If this had been a real trap, Admiral, if you'd actually tried to take us hostage, we would have neutralized the threat within 12 minutes. Maybe 10. Kelthar's claws gripped his glass. "You're that confident?" "We're that prepared," Wu corrected. "It's not confidence. It's just what we do." Sarah took a sip of her whiskey. "Earth's history is brutal, Admiral. We've survived wars, famines, diseases, and each other. We've learned to be 2 things at once, hopeful enough to reach out, paranoid enough to survive when we're betrayed. It's not a contradiction. It's necessity." "You live your entire lives like this?" Kelthar asked. "Always prepared for betrayal?" "Not always," Sarah said. "But when we're responding to distress signals in the middle of dangerous nebulas, yes, we hope for the best. We prepare for the worst." She poured another round. "Let me tell you something, Admiral. We monitored the Council's debate. We watched while they formed committees and discussed protocols and calculated risks. 47 souls, your number, would have died in the time it took them to approve a rescue mission. The Council has procedures for good reasons," Kelthar said defensively. "We've learned patience over 10,000 years. And we've learned urgency," Sarah replied. When people are dying, every second counts. We don't have the luxury of your patience. In our history, hesitation meant extinction. Captain Velkath, who had been silent, finally spoke. So you act first and think later? No, Wu said firmly. We think while we act. We don't wait for perfect information because perfect information comes too late. We assess risks, we prepare for contingencies, and we move. Fast doesn't mean careless. Sarah pulled out a data pad. The entire council debate was recorded. Would you like to see it? 3 days of discussions. Multiple committees. Risk assessments. By the time the council authorized a rescue mission, it would have been too late to save anyone if this had been real. She slid the pad across the table. Kelthar looked at the data, his mandibles clicking softly. The council isn't designed for speed. No, Sarah agreed. It's designed for stability, for consensus. That's valuable for long-term governance. But for emergencies, it's deadly. That's why you bypass them, Velkath realized. We didn't bypass them, Sarah corrected. We acted while they deliberated. There's a difference. Ambassador Webb is probably having a very difficult time in the council chambers right now, dealing with the political fallout. That's his job. Our job was to save lives. Kelthar drank more whiskey. It was burning his throat, but he barely noticed. You mentioned recording equipment earlier. You knew we were recording all of this? Of course. And you don't mind that the entire galaxy will see this conversation? Sarah smiled. It was a real smile this time, not the professional one. Admiral, I want them to see it. I want every species in the council to watch this recording and understand something about humanity. We're not naive. We're not reckless. We're not children playing in adult spaces. She leaned back in her chair. We're a species that answers distress calls. We come prepared. We bring medical teams and Marines. We hope you need the doctors and not the soldiers, but we bring both. That's who we are. You're dangerous, Kelthar said quietly. Yes, Sarah agreed. We're very dangerous. We're also very kind. Those two things aren't opposites, Admiral. They're two sides of the same coin. Wu added. A species that can't be dangerous can't choose to be kind. Kindness without power is just weakness. But power without kindness is just cruelty. We try to be both. Kelthar was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he asked, What do you want the council to see in these recordings? The truth, Sarah said simply. That we knew it was a trap and came anyway. That we were ready for betrayal but hoped for better. That we can be trusted to respond to emergencies but we're nobody's fools. She stood up. You wanted to test us, Admiral. You wanted to show the galaxy that humans are too impulsive to be trusted. Instead, you're going to show them that we're exactly the people you want coming when you're in real trouble. Because we'll come fast, we'll come prepared, and we'll come whether we like you or not. Why? The question came from Velkath. Why answer distress calls from people you don't even like? Sarah looked at him for a moment. Because it's not about liking people. It's about doing what's right. In Earth's history, we've had times when people were dying and nobody came to help. We've had times when we were the ones calling for rescue and nobody answered. We remember what that feels like. She picked up her glass. So now when we hear someone calling for help, we go. We don't care if it's politically convenient. We don't care if it fits our schedule. We don't even care if we like the people calling. We go because someone needs help and we can provide it. Even if it's a trap, Kelthar said. Especially if it might be a trap, Sarah corrected. Because what if we're wrong? What if it's real and we don't come? We'd rather risk looking foolish than risk letting people die. Wu raised his glass. Gun silent but eyes cold. That's humanity's approach to the galaxy, Admiral. We'll shake your hand with a smile, but we'll watch to see if you reach for a knife. We'll trust you until you give us reason not to. And if you do betray us, he shrugged. We'll be ready. They drank together, 4 military officers from 2 different species, sharing alcohol and truths that were more honest than comfortable. Finally, Kelthar asked, What happens now? When you return to Earth and I present my report to the Council? That depends on what you put in your report, Sarah said. You want me to lie? No. Sarah's voice was firm. I want you to tell the truth. All of it. Tell them we knew it was a trap. Tell them we came anyway. Tell them we were prepared for betrayal. Tell them we treated your crew with respect and kindness anyway. Tell them everything. That will make you look. Kelthar searched for words. Dangerous, Sarah offered. Good, we are dangerous. But we are also trustworthy. Those two things can coexist, Admiral. The galaxy needs to understand that, Velkath spoke up. The council will debate what to do about you for years. Let them, Wu said. While they debate, we'll be answering distress calls. We'll be the ones who show up when someone needs help. Eventually, the galaxy will figure out what that means. Kelthar stood up. His posture was different now, less confident but somehow more respectful. Your crew has been professional and skilled. My people have learned much from working with them. I will report this honestly. That's all we ask, Sarah said. They finished their drinks in silence. When they were done, Sarah and Wu returned to the Prometheus. The training exercise continued for one more day, with human and Velkorian crews working together to solve simulated emergencies. On the final day, as the two ships prepared to separate, something unexpected happened. A young Velkorian engineer approached Chief Rodriguez. Thank you, he said simply, for showing us how to fix the power coupling, for teaching us your techniques. You didn't have to do that. Rodriguez smiled. Sure we did. If your ship has problems later, we want you to be able to fix them. We might not be there next time, but we tried to trap you, to humiliate you. Yeah, Rodriguez agreed. You did, but our captain made a choice to turn that into something useful. We can be angry about the trap, or we can use this time to build bridges. She chose bridges. Similar conversations happened throughout both ships. Velkorian crew members thanked human medics, engineers, and even Marines. The humans accepted the thanks gracefully, without pointing out the obvious irony. When the Prometheus finally undocked and began moving away, Captain Velkath stood on his bridge, watching them go. They're remarkable, his first officer said. They're terrifying, Velkath replied. They came to help us, knowing we planned to betray them. They were kind to our crew while simultaneously cataloging every way to destroy our ship. They smiled while watching for knives. Do you think the council will accept them after this? Velkath was quiet for a moment. I think the council doesn't have a choice. The humans are going to keep being themselves, answering distress calls, taking risks, acting while others debate. The only question is whether we work with them or against them. And which do you think we should do? I think, Velkath said slowly, that when I'm genuinely in trouble, I want the humans to be the ones who come. On the Prometheus, Sarah Chen stood on her bridge, watching the Velkorian ship shrink behind them. Think they learned anything? Wu asked. Maybe, Sarah said. But more importantly, they recorded everything. The whole galaxy will see how this went. And what will they see? They'll see humanity, Sarah said. The real version. Not naive heroes or reckless warriors, just people trying to do the right thing while staying alive. She turned from the view screen. Set course for Earth, Helm. Let's go home. As the Prometheus jumped to faster-than-light travel, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The trap had failed, but maybe, just maybe, they'd built something better than they'd destroyed. The Galactic Council chamber was built to intimidate. Massive columns rose to a ceiling lost in shadow. Representatives from 200 species sat in curved rows that wrapped around the central speaking platform. Everything about the space said, "We are old. We are powerful. We are important." Ambassador Marcus Webb stood on that platform, feeling very small and very human. Ambassador Webb, Council Speaker Trelvin said in his slow, measured voice, Earth has acted unilaterally in a matter of galactic concern. You deployed a military vessel into Council space without authorization. You interfered in what was a sanctioned evaluation of your species' readiness for— It wasn't sanctioned, Marcus interrupted. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Nobody interrupted the speaker. Trelvan's appendages stiffened. Excuse me? The test wasn't sanctioned, Marcus repeated. He pulled out his datapad. I've reviewed Council records. There was no authorization for Admiral Kelthar's operation. No committee approval, no vote. He acted alone. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several representatives began checking their own records. That is irrelevant, Trelvan said, though his voice had lost some of its confidence. The issue is Earth's response. You deployed a warship, a rescue ship, Marcus corrected, with medical teams, engineers, and yes, security personnel. Exactly what you'd expect for a rescue operation in a dangerous region. You knew it was a trap. We suspected it might be, Marcus agreed. But we couldn't be certain. And in the time it would have taken this council to authorize a rescue mission, 47 people would have died if the distress had been real. That's not how the council operates, said Council Member Shosa. We have procedures, protocols. Your procedures would have let people die. Marcus said bluntly. We're not willing to do that. So you'll just act whenever you please? Without consulting the council? Marcus took a deep breath. When people are dying? Yes, every time. We'll come fast, we'll come prepared, and we'll deal with the political consequences afterward. That's who we are. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species were outraged. Others seemed thoughtful. A few were nodding. Perhaps, Speaker Trelvan said loudly, silencing the noise, we should review the actual recordings of this incident. High Admiral Kelthar has submitted his report. Let us see what actually happened. The lights dimmed. Holographic projections filled the space above the speaking platform. The entire galaxy watched as the drama unfolded. They saw the Prometheus breaking orbit from Earth just 8 hours after the distress call. They saw it racing through dangerous space at speeds that made several council members gasp. They saw Captain Chen's calm face as she announced her arrival, using Admiral Kelthar's name and rank, making it clear she knew about the trap. They saw the tense standoff at the docking port. They saw the humans offer to turn the trap into a training exercise. They saw 2 days of efficient, professional rescue operations, but most importantly, they saw the conversation in the conference room. Sarah Chen's words echoed through the chamber. We knew it was a trap. We came anyway. Because what if we were wrong? They saw her explain humanity's dual nature, hopeful but prepared, kind but dangerous, trusting but watchful. When the recording ended, the chamber was silent. Finally, a representative from the Bright Collective spoke. They knew. They knew from the beginning, and they came anyway. Because they're fools, said another representative from a species Marcus didn't recognize. Are they? This came from an unexpected source. High Admiral Kelthar himself walking onto the speaking platform. I thought they were fools too. I planned this operation to prove it. To show the galaxy that humans were too reckless, too emotional, too dangerous to trust. He turned to face the assembled council. I was wrong. The humans aren't reckless. They're decisive. They don't act without thinking. They think while they act. And yes, they're dangerous, but they're dangerous in a way the galaxy needs. You're defending them? Speaker Trelvan asked, clearly surprised. After they exposed your operation? They didn't expose anything, Kelthar said. I'm exposing myself. I acted without council authorization. I planned an operation that could have resulted in violence. I was willing to take humans hostage to prove a political point. His mandibles clicked with shame. The humans could have revealed all of this immediately. Could have demanded apologies and reparations. Instead, they gave me exactly what I claimed to want. An honest evaluation of their capabilities. He pulled up more data on the holographic display. In 2 days, they mapped my entire ship. They identified 17 security vulnerabilities we didn't know we had. They found maintenance issues before they became critical. Their medical teams taught my doctors new techniques. Their engineers shared their knowledge freely. They could have taken my ship, Kelthar said quietly, if they'd wanted to. They were prepared. They were positioned. They could have neutralized us in minutes, but they chose to help instead. Another representative spoke up, but they were still prepared for violence. They still had weapons ready. Of course they did, Kelthar said. They'd be fools not to. But being prepared for violence and seeking violence are different things. The humans hope for the best. They just prepare for the worst. Ambassador Marcus Webb stepped forward. The Council has debated for 30 years whether Earth is ready for greater responsibility. Whether we're too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Here's my answer. We are young. We are aggressive when needed. We are unpredictable by your standards. He gestured to the holographic replay, frozen on an image of Captain Chen talking with Velcorian crew members. But we're also reliable in the ways that matter. When someone calls for help, we come fast, ready. We don't wait for perfect information or political approval. We act. That's not how the Council operates, Trelvan said again. No, Marcus agreed. It's not. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the Council needs someone who operates differently. Someone who'll act while others debate. You want special privileges? Another representative accused. No, Marcus said firmly. We want to be judged fairly, not on whether we follow your procedures, but on whether we get results. Did Captain Chen and her crew save lives? No, because there were no lives to save. But if there had been, they would have succeeded. Can you say the same about council procedures? The chamber fell into heated debate. Some species called for sanctions against Earth. Others argued for closer cooperation. A few suggested that Earth's approach had merit even if it was uncomfortable. Finally, Speaker Trelvan called for order. This matter requires more consideration. We will reconvene tomorrow to— No, the voice came from the back of the chamber. An elderly representative from a species Marcus didn't recognize stood up. No more delays. I'm tired of debates that take weeks. Let me ask a simple question. She looked around the chamber. If your homeworld sent out a real distress call right now, who would you want to come? The species that forms a committee or the species that breaks orbit in 8 hours? Silence. I know my answer, the elderly representative said. She turned to Marcus. Earth's methods are not our methods. But perhaps we've been in the council so long that we've forgotten how to move quickly when it matters. Over the next several hours, something unprecedented happened. The council took a vote without first forming a committee to study the vote. The result was mixed. Earth wouldn't get full council privileges, not yet, but they received official recognition as an emergency response force. When real distress calls came in, Earth could respond immediately without waiting for council authorization. Some species voted against it. Others abstained. But enough voted yes. Marcus Webb stood alone in his embassy office afterward, looking at the voting results. It wasn't everything Earth wanted, but it was something, his communicator chimed. Captain Chen's face appeared. Ambassador, I heard about the vote. It's a start, Marcus said. That's all we needed, Sarah replied. A chance to prove ourselves. The council is still divided about us. They'll figure it out eventually, Sarah said confidently. When we keep showing up, keep helping, keep doing what we say we'll do. Actions matter more than words. Captain, there's already another debate starting about whether Earth's approach is appropriate for— Let them debate, Sarah interrupted gently. While they talk, we'll keep responding to calls. That's how we prove ourselves, not by arguing our case, but by demonstrating it. The transmission ended. Marcus sat down, suddenly tired. 30 years of careful diplomacy, and it was Captain Chen's willingness to walk into a trap that finally changed things. 3 weeks after the Prometheus returned to Earth, something happened that nobody expected. The Velcorian colony world of Kelthos Prime sent out a distress call. A plague had broken out. Medical facilities were overwhelmed. They needed help immediately. The Galactic Council began forming an emergency response committee. Various species started calculating what resources they could spare. Medical ships began planning their routes. Earth broke orbit in 6 hours. 3 ships this time, the Prometheus, the Ibn Sina with its expanded medical facilities, and the Discovery loaded with disease research equipment. They pushed their engines even harder than before, racing to reach Kelthos Prime before the plague spread further. The Council protested. They hadn't authorized Earth's response yet. The committees hadn't finished their assessments.